August 1993. Police officers arrive at a private estate in California. Not quietly. Search warrants. Media already waiting outside. Inside that house was the most famous man in the world, Michael Jackson. And they weren't there for drugs or weapons. They were there for a child abuse investigation. Within 48 hours, his life split into two versions, before 1993 and after. And here's what makes this story different. Even after a full trial, even after being found not guilty, the world never went back. To understand that, you need to understand how unusual this case was. In most criminal cases, you get a trial, evidence, and eventually a clear verdict. But in 1993, that didn't happen. The allegations came from a 13-year-old boy. The investigation began. And at the same time, the media turned it into a global spectacle. Every detail of Michael Jackson's life was suddenly under a microscope. Interviews, behavior, past relationships, everything. But before the case could reach a courtroom, something unexpected happened. The case was settled, privately. Reports suggested a payment of around $20 million. No admission of guilt, no criminal conviction. And this is where the real problem began. Because legally, nothing was proven. But socially, everything changed. Think about it. If someone is innocent, why settle? But if someone is guilty, why avoid a trial completely? This one decision created a permanent divide in public opinion. After 1993, his career didn't collapse overnight. He still released albums, still appeared in public. But slowly, the world around him began to step back. Brands distanced themselves, opportunities became harder to secure, and the pressure didn't stop. At the same time, his lifestyle didn't slow down. Reports later suggested he had accumulated hundreds of millions in debt. Then, in 2003, the situation escalated again. A documentary showed him with a young boy. The footage raised questions. And soon after, new allegations were filed. But this time, things went differently. In 2005, Michael Jackson finally faced a full criminal trial. It lasted over 4 months. Witnesses testified. Evidence was examined. The entire world watched. And in the end, he was found not guilty on all charges. Legally, he had won. But here's the twist. It didn't fix anything, because public perception doesn't work like a courtroom. For many people, the doubt was already permanent. And once that doubt exists, no verdict can completely erase it. After the trial, he didn't stay in the United States. He moved between countries, living more privately than ever before. Financial problems grew worse. At one point, he was close to losing control of his own assets. The man who once defined global pop culture was now trying to recover, both financially and personally. By 2009, things had reached a breaking point, so he decided to come back. One last time. This is it. A series of concerts in London. Not just a comeback, a reset. If this worked, everything could change again. Rehearsals had already started. Hours of practice, late nights. People who were there said he looked focused, but also exhausted. Sleeping had become a problem. And to fix that, he relied on medication. Then on June 25th, 2009,
the king of pop has died.
Michael Jackson collapsed. He never woke up again. The official cause, cardiac arrest, triggered by a combination of powerful sedatives. The same body that carried decades of pressure, performance, expectation, finally gave out. And something strange happened after his death. The same world that questioned him now mourned him. Millions gathered, tributes everywhere. His music returned to the top charts. But the question never left. Maybe that's the most uncomfortable part of this story. Not whether he was innocent or guilty, but how quickly perception can replace truth. Because once the world decides who you are, it becomes almost impossible to change it. And in Michael Jackson's case, that decision was made in 1993. So here's the real question. Was he a victim of misunderstanding? Or someone the world understood correctly before it was proven? And more importantly, how often does this happen to people who aren't famous enough to be heard at all? Because in the end, he didn't just lose his reputation. He lost control over the story itself.